Welcome, welcome. Charles is going to put the live stream link to Alice's documentary, You Gave Me a Song, in the chat because I got it later last night, and so I thought that would be a good way to spread the news of that.
Okay.
Well, to be glad.
Hey, John. Hey, Art. I see Art. I'm going to tell a story on him.
Yeah.
If I have time. Yeah. I want to make sure, though, that
Hey, John.
Jim and Alice have much time as.
Yeah, you need to be careful about telling stories. People might start telling stories on you, and then there you go.
Whatever they say is true, mostly.
Oh boy.
Well, Susan, we have about 20 people on the call right now because we have some couples, and I would say let's go ahead and get underway, and people will continue to join. I'll continue to let them in. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. Hey, welcome to the old time music class, the hidden stories and the healing power of old time music. Have to say that the best healing power happens from playing music and learning about and sharing stories with people. I know that Alice Gerrard and Jim Watson have been doing this in exquisite and inimitable way for a few decades now.
Yeah, quite a few.
We need not go into it, but Alice and Jim are here with us today from live virtual from Jim's house. And to introduce Alice, all I need to say is that Raina Gellert, who was written up in the No Depression magazine this week.
Not on Zoom. I'll go in. You want to come work this out, set this up?
Well, all right.
Let me work on that.
Let me ask everybody to mute yourselves.
Or you can mute us all,
and I'm gonna,
except me.
Yep.
And Alice and Jim.
Yep.
But anyway, Raina Gellert, who was described by No Depression magazine this week in a review of hers and Kieran Kane's new album, No Depression said that Raina was one of the best, if not the best fiddler in the whole wide world. But Raina Gellert says that Alice Gerrard is queen of the universe. I probably need to say no more. I've sent everybody Alice's your website link, which has your bio. I wanted to point out that one of the albums, the mini albums you've won international acclaim for, is A Wonderful World Outside with Jim Watson and the Piedmont Melody Makers. And I took a workshop with Jim one time and he talked about the song Wonderful World Outside and how the Carter family has influenced his work and everybody else's in this whole universe of old time music. Jim is, let me turn over here now to Jim. Oh yeah. Jim says in an email, you can say 14 years with the Red Clay Ramblers, 27 with Robin and Linda Williams, and several years with Alice and the Piedmont Melody Makers and assorted other local groups, which would include Art Aylesworth. They've put in some time with Art over at his house doing workshops, and have an album cover photo at Art Aylesworth and Gretchen's house for Brad and Tom and Alice group. Their first album, and I've had the distinct pleasure and privilege of being able to sing and play with Jim Watson at the a long time ago at the Piccolo Spoleto Festival, where Jim sang where Jim sang Carter family songs like Give Me the Roses While I Live and Charlie Poole's song Leaving Home, which brought the whole audience to their feet. Leaving Home is about Frankie and Johnny and this love affair that's hard to bear. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Jim and Alice and turn it over to them.
Good.
Okay.
Are we
So,
demuted?
so you're not going to ask us questions and stuff like that?
Well, let me kick you off with a question.
Okay.
And that is this whole class, as you know, is about the healing power of old time music. And I've asked y'all to come because I see you as my, beacon lights, as just emblematic and embodiments of the healing power of old time music over time in many different ways, at home, in concerts, on stage, in film, and any place else you can do it. And I met Jim in, I think, 1972 when I first saw the Red Clay Ramblers playing, and Jim was a featured member of that. And I met Alice a few years later, maybe. What prompted me to meet Alice was that I heard somebody on the street in Key West playing Hazel and Alice's West Virginia, Oh My Home. And so I just would, go back every night when I was there and ask them to play it again, to sing it again. So how has the healing power manifested itself? How do you see it in your music?
Well, music almost always makes you feel good. If you, sometimes it doesn't. I
Well, but even like we say, nothing makes you feel better than singing a sad song.
That's the truth, isn't it? The truth.
Yeah. If you're down and out and you're just broken up with somebody and you feel bad, you don't want to listen to a fiddle tune, a square dance fiddle tune. You want to listen to somebody like George Jones or,
Today I started loving her again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Merle Haggard. That's the
Merle
Merle Haggard number. Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
I thought George did that one. I'm wrong.
That's
You're
Merle.
right.
Did he write it?
I think he wrote that too. Yeah.
Well, George also.
Well, he might have.
Yeah.
Well, you'll allow for that. Well, do y'all have a sad song?
And I remember there was an old fiddler who used to live up near me when I lived in Galax in Southwest Virginia.
Yeah.
And when he was a young boy, he was kind of sickly, and he said that the doctor told him, he played the banjo a little bit. The doctor told him to play the banjo and it would make him feel better. And he got better and better after he was playing. It really does have a healing sort of power, unless you're just unless you're listening back to yourself and you don't like the way you sound. Or
Well, then you sing in the shower. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
And nowadays, that's where I sing, period.
Well, I tell you, bathrooms are good places to sing because the acoustics are really lively in there.
Yeah, and stairwells too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got some reverb going.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Jim singing one time, Don't Let Me Come Home a Stranger. Do you remember that song, Jim?
Well, I sang it most every show with Robin and Linda Williams because Robin and a guy named Jerry Clark wrote that song.
Yeah.
That was not a Robin and Linda writing. It was a Robin and Jerry Clark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. But you sang it. That's the point.
Yeah, and I think that's on. We put that on the Tarwater Band album.
Yes, we did. The Tarwater Band is a band I know all too well.
Yeah, me and Susan and Clyde Edgerton.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And we did it in Jerry Brown's. Does he call it the
No,
rubber?
we recorded that at Wes LaChaux was the engineer, and it was called
Walking Across Egypt.
but the studio, I can't remember what he called his studio, but
I think
it was
overdub.
in Carborough. It was in Carborough where the Cat's Cradle is now.
It was behind what was then Nice Price Books.
Yeah, you had to go into Nice Price Books and all the way back to the back of the store, and then go through a doorway in the back of the store. As I recall, that was the only way into that studio.
Right, and the only way out.
Yeah, so it's a good thing that a fire didn't happen.
Well,
all those Nice Price Books didn't catch fire.
I hadn't thought of that until this moment, but I appreciate it. But
You
what
compressed it, I think.
what brought me to tears every time you did it was "Don't Let Me Come Home a Stranger." But there were other songs on that album that you did, like "Mother Said," I believe, and "Give Me the Roses While I Live."
That was Distant Land of Rome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that's what it's called, Distant
Yeah.
Land of Rome. Well, do y'all have some songs you want to sing for us that you want to sing for us?
Well, we thought we'd do some songs, all of which reflect the way that music mixed in the South between black and white musicians, and how the influences of black music were so powerful on white musicians, and there was a real give and take and back and forth. And the Carter family, we do a lot of Carter family songs. They were from Southwest Virginia, and they hung around with a black man by the name of Leslie Riddle, and he showed them a bunch of songs.
And he would go, it must have been the oddest scene. He would go around with A.P. Carter and help him collect songs.
Right.
And A.P. was pretty much acknowledged by people in that area as being kind of an unusual guy, kind of a strange guy.
Mm-hmm. A little bit,
Well, he not so much that, but he was odd. And
he was from a different time and place.
Yeah. So AP and Leslie Riddle would ride around looking for songs, and so the story goes, they'd see a house, and AP would say something like that. I bet they got some songs there, and so AP was apparently good at. So they just walk up to the door, and AP was good at getting the words, and Leslie Riddle was good at getting the melodies, but. Imagine in the 1920s and 30s being in your house up in the mountains and having two strangers come and knock on your door saying, you got any songs? One of them white and one of them black. Really unusual for the day.
Yeah.
And Alice and I were talking about, some of the foundational figures in country music, and we're talking about the Carter family, Jimmy Rogers, Bill Monroe, and Hank Williams, all had huge African-American influences early on that shaped their music. Leslie Riddle with the Carter family, with Bill Monroe is a guy named Arnold Schultz that Bill Monroe played dances with. Schultz was a guitar player and a fiddler. And Monroe played dances with him and credited him with helping him put the blues in Bill Monroe's music.
Right.
Hank Williams there was a street singer, I think in Montgomery, named T-Tot, known as T-Tot, that Hank Williams learned a lot of music from. And of course, the blues was big in Hank Williams' music. Jimmy Rogers was a railroad man, and he worked with a lot of black railroad workers, and Rogers also recorded a lot of blues, classic 12-bar blues numbers, and there were a lot of black people in the South who listened to Jimmie Rodgers and had no idea he was white. So the basis of country music has just got all these African American musicians in it.
Right. And that's one of the themes of this class. And Jim, I love you and Alice for bringing this out. I've had not nearly enough time, and me and Charles, to bring it out enough. And this is wonderful.
Well, and I'll show you this photograph. Can you see this?
Yes.
We don't know who this is, but Jim got this from a friend of his. This was a very common thing. And there was a band, a string band named Taylor's Kentucky Boys. And they were a banjo player and a guitar, I guess, and a fiddle player. The fiddle player was black. And so Taylor was the manager of this group, Mr. Taylor. And when they took the publicity photos for the group, you can Google these people they're on YouTube. I mean, it's a long time ago, but there are pictures of them, but you'll never see Jim Booker, who was the fiddler, in the photographs because they substituted, in all the publicity photos, they substituted a white man for Jim Booker. They substituted Mr. Taylor.
This is why it's called the hidden story.
Yeah. So word got out. I mean, and it's constantly in the music. I mean, anytime you hear syncopation or a blue note or a flatted note or a slur, that's out of black tradition.
Mm-hmm. So, it is.
Yeah.
And I've sent everybody some music from Elizabeth Cotton from Carrboro, and I know you've mentioned her as a mentor or a inspiration. She was African American, and in her every song, practically, even in Sweet By and By, she does this gospel tune. Mm-hmm. She plays the guitar backwards and upside down, but other than that, she also puts in those blue notes and bends them as she's playing and picking this in the Sweet By and By, which we always think of as, well, white people always think of pretty much as a white gospel song.
Yeah.
I'm ready to hear that music.
Okay, you want to try Hello Stranger?
Okay, so we're going to do Hello Stranger, which is a Carter family song that they apparently learned from Leslie Riddle.
Wow, I did not know that.
They did a bunch of stuff, and Maybelle learned how to play fingerstyle guitar from Leslie Riddle, too.
Right, the Carter scratch, so-called.
Well, no, just the regular.
Just the regular.
She learned how to do that kind of stuff from Leslie Riddle, not the Carter scratch. She figured that out herself.
Jim and Alice, can you lower your screen just a little bit so we can actually maybe get a little picture of your musical instruments as well? There you go. Maybe not that low. Okay. Maybe not that low.
Maybe a little higher. There you are. You beautiful. Yeah, we get to see you beautiful.
That's good.
That's perfect.
We're just seeing a small picture here. Okay, ready? This is Hello Stranger from the Carter family. Hello, stranger.
Put your loving hand in mine.
Hello, stranger.
Put your loving hand in mine.
You are a stranger,
and you're a pal of mine.
Get up round her.
Let a working girl lay down.
Get up round her.
Let a working girl lay down.
You are around her,
and you're all out and down. and 4th streetcar.
Every time.
I ride the 6th and 4th streetcar.
Oh, I can see my baby
Peeping through the bars.
He found his hand,
Wave both hands at me.
found his head.
And he waved both hands at me.
I'm prison bound.
I'm longing to be free.
Oh, I'll see you
When your troubles are like
I'll
mine.
see you.
When your troubles are like mine.
Oh, I'll see you.
When you haven't got a dime.
Weeping like a willow.
Mourning like a dove.
Weeping like a willow.
And mourning like a dove.
There's a man up the country
That I dearly love.
Well, hello, stranger.
Put your loving hand in mine.
Hello, stranger.
Put your loving hand in mine.
You are a stranger.
And you're a pal of mine.
That was splendid.
You know, we don't have an external mic. It just occurred to me. Is it working okay sound-wise?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we were all singing along. We all muted ourselves, but we were singing along with you.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great, y'all. And your explanations and background, the hidden story is essential for everybody to know how this diversity was there from the very beginning,
Yeah.
from 1619 on, you know.
Exactly.
And especially we need to point that out after the records got invented and after the recording industry got going and marketed everything to be even more divided and separated into niches of
Yeah. Of course, people now are much more aware of that than they used to be. It was definitely a hidden secret for many years, and only recently did it become acknowledged widely that the banjo was an African instrument
right.
brought over when the slaves were brought over, and or when Africans were brought over and became enslaved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were kidnapped and brought over and
Yeah.
were enslaved.
And they brought their gourds and things with them, and they made these gourd banjos and things, and so and that was definitely an African.
You should do the stolen sold.
Yeah.
Now. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Or soon at any rate.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about.
Yeah. So I'll
This
sing
now.
a song. This is came from a woman from Eastern Kentucky by the name of Addie Graham. She's a white woman, and her great grandfather, I forget which grade he was, but came into Kentucky originally with Daniel Boone and established a church in their little community where they made a community. And that church split, as many churches did in that area of the South, over slavery. And her great-great-grandfather was the abolitionist preacher, and he went one way and the other guys went the other way.
Right.
And she learned this song from him, and we don't know where it comes from because her grandson recorded her, but she just was in their family. Nobody else sang it. But I think it might have come from an abolitionist songbook some way or other.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and she sang it, and it's called Stolen Sold from Africa.
Oh, I'd love to hear this.
Yeah. So Jim's going to give me a note here.
Hey.
We're stole and sold from Africa, transported to America. Like hogs and sheep, we march and drove, suffer the heat, endure the cold. Excuse me. See how they take us from our wives, young children from their mother's side. They take us to some foreign land, make slaves to wait on gentlemen. We're almost naked, as you see, almost barefooted as we be. Excuse me. Suffer the lash, endure the pain, exposed to sun, both wind and rain. Oh Lord, have mercy and look down upon the race of the African. Upon our knees pour out our grief and pray to God for some relief. Sorry, it's a little early in the morning here.
It is. Y'all are very brave, and as I was saying, you both deserve a star in your crown in heaven for even coming to Sunday school, much less this time of day. Thank you. It is hard to sing this time of morning.
Yeah.
It sounded great, though. Thank you. That was powerful. That was
great
very.
song, yeah.
We've got to get the words, and well, we've got it. We're recording this,
Yeah.
and I want to learn that song. And thank you. There are other influences. I know you have told me that you have taken a deep dive, Alice, into Elizabeth Cotton, who's a local gal. Others, Etta Baker is over there from Caldwell County,
Morganton.
Morganton, up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And it is said that her style of picking and singing influenced Bob Dylan when he was down there visiting, and he took stuff from her and put it on different parts of the songs that he wrote and did. But and there are so many. Joe Thompson. I'm thinking of all the fiddlers that Rhiannon Giddens has brought along with Cece Conway to the fore later on, but not until 2005 was there a black banjo gathering.
That's right. Cece, that was Cece's initiation, and she also wrote this great book called, oh gosh, I'll probably get this wrong, African Echoes in the Appalachians. I think that might be the name of it.
I'll look it up.
The African influence in the mountains, because there's obviously in the deep South huge influence.
Right.
But people don't really think of the mountains as a place where Africans existed very much.
I know it's been true, and my research at the online you can go to any library. So I went to the Smithsonian, and they have several albums called Black Appalachia.
Yeah.
On those, they've collected many recordings.
There are many, both folkways and Rounder, I believe, also, and a few other put out records of African American string band music, gospel music, and there are many collections that you can find if you just
Yeah.
Google.
Google it.
Google.
Love Google. Google's a great
Wonderful
resource.
invention.
And then, of course, later on, as coal mining became a big thing, and
Yes.
that brought in people from multiple areas, you know, Italians, Germans, all those people that moved in to be, and of course, black people as well, to be working in the coal mines. And
That's
then
true.
you get people like
And the railroad.
Doc Boggs.
Oh yeah.
From Norton, Virginia, way down in coal country, he was a banjo player, recorded in the 20s, and he loved the blues. He did a lot of blues himself, playing the banjo. And
Really?
He was a white man, and he sounds, his, whenever you hear him sing or play, sounds very bluesy, and that all comes from his connection to African Americans in the area. Working on the railroad.
Working on the railroad, working in the
Coal mines. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And there is a Black Appalachia podcast going on right now out of Bristol,
Cool.
Tennessee, you know, and really promoting and keeping alive the Black Appalachian tradition in old time music. But it's, you know, the more we can bring it all to the forefront, the stronger the diversity is, or appears to be, and is perceived to be. And to me, that's where the healing power lies. Its most powerful, or provides its most powerful ability to heal, is in bringing people together from so many backgrounds.
You know, there was a young woman from Gastonia, North Carolina, who, by the name of Anne Romaine, and she was very active in the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s especially, and she was living in Atlanta at the time, where there was an underground newspaper called the Great Speckled Bird.
Oh, I know that.
I'm sure, yeah. Well, Anne Romaine, and she, and Bernice Regan, who was an African-American woman and was also working in Atlanta at the time, and they got together, and Anne wanted to start this tour in the South of both black and white musicians, and go around the South playing the music of the South in the South, which was very unusual back then, you know, because when people would find a musician like Doc Boggs, they'd find them and
discover them.
They'd bring them up north to go play at folk festivals, and that's how they sort of got another career going for themselves to some extent. But she wanted to go around the South because part of the issue is there weren't many young black people that were sort of claiming their heritage of black music, because I think it was still too close to the bone and Jim Crow and so many things, minstrelsy.
Blackface, yes.
Just said, I don't want to have anything to do with it. As did many young white people, you know, I want to learn rock and roll. I don't want to learn that old stuff, you know.
That old hillbilly stuff.
And so her mission was to get a tour going around the South. And so we did that. She got this tour together. It was called it ended up being called the Southern Folk Cultural Revival Project. And all the papers are in the Southern Folk Life collection if anybody is interested in delving into it. But
I'll put it in it's going to be in the chat.
And their first concert was at Vanderbilt in early. And and some of the people on that were Johnny Cash, who's the mouth harp player?
DeFord Bailey.
DeFord Bailey.
Oh yeah, the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, he was on this first concert that the tour put on, and Bernice Regan Almeda Riddle was there. And so it was just a great thing. And then and that morphed into this ongoing tour. They had 2 tours a year, one in the mountain South and one in the deep South. And we all rode in a van together. There are usually 4 or 5 people.
Oh
And it
my
was an
goodness.
amazing thing. You know, if you think back on the people who were on the tour, like Elizabeth Cotton, Olabelle Reed,
Johnny Shine,
Johnny Shines, who was a blues man.
who learned from Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, really?
Yeah. And just, it was a great thing. And it went quite a
Yeah, the
while.
Ramblers did
Yeah,
1 or 2 of those.
That's right. Yeah.
Too.
Well, does this bring to mind a song that you all wish to play for us about this?
Yeah. Well, we could do Jack and May, or do you want to do?
How much time
you
do
wanna
we have?
Ellenton?
You have about 25 minutes.
Well, let's do Death of Ellenton.
Okay. Oh, this is such a great song. Jim just introduced this to me recently.
But this is a song that I learned off a New Lost City Ramblers album
Woo!
that called Modern Times. Came out in the mid 70s maybe. And it's about a town in South Carolina called Ellenton. The song is called The Death of Ellenton. And it was the Defense Department bought the town, basically, and moved everybody there to a different location fairly close by, I think.
When would this have been roughly?
Late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
And you'll hear what they did to Ellenton, but I mean, I'm going to show you this.
You have to kind of hold it up.
Yeah, I'll show you this picture
Right.
of the street of the city limit sign, and you probably won't be able to read
Oh,
the whole thing, but I will read
love these people.
for you what it says, what these people added to the city limit sign. It is hard to understand why our town must be destroyed to make a bomb that will destroy someone else's town that they love as much as we love ours.
Ooh.
But we feel that they picked not just the best spot in the U.S., but in the world. We love these dear hearts and gentle people who live in our hometown.
Ooh.
So this is this song, "The Death of Ellenton,"
And what they were gonna build there is a hydrogen a plant that would make a hydrogen bomb.
yeah. Where the broad savannah flows along to meet the mighty sea, there stood a peaceful village that meant all the world to me. 'Twas a home of happy people, I knew each and every one. All my kin and all the friends I loved, the town was Ellenton. Then the military came one day and filled our hearts with woe. We'll study war right here, they said, the little town must go. Then they came with trucks and dynamite, the din and dust rose high, as I stood and gazed in silence there and watched my hometown die. They brought bulldozers by the score where children used to play, pushed over all the trees we loved and scraped the flowers away. Now the homes are gone, the schoolhouse to the sweat and toil of years. and with them all our hopes and joys of past and future years. The little church was hauled away, the fields are brown and bare, and in their place of hiding plant they built the H-bomb there. Now the smoke hangs o'er the valley like the mist before my eyes, that has been there ever since the day I saw my hometown die. For the friends we've known and loved will meet upon some other shore, but Ellenton, fair Ellenton, is gone forevermore.
So there were a lot of, I mean, it wasn't just dances and love songs. People were always writing protest songs against things like out of the cotton mills in the Carolinas. There were a lot of great old songs that were written protesting the conditions, and that was true everywhere in the South. I mean,
and in some ways, I don't view the Death of Ellenton really as a protest song. It's a story of what happened, and it's a sad story. And what they wrote, what they added to that city limit sign, is just, I mean, it's just heartbreaking in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It is heartbreaking. It's also a commentary.
It's a commentary
on.
It's one of those hidden stories that's come out and needs to come out. Thank God.
I talked to John Cohen about that song, and he said that back in those days, the New Lost City Ramblers, people would send them tapes of songs that they recorded off record collections, from wherever.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't necessarily know anything about the song itself. And the liner notes on the album just talked about basically recording information about the original recording of the song. And so they didn't know the story of Ellenton at all. The New Lost City Ramblers didn't. Mm-hmm. So they didn't comment at all on the story of the song. Mm-hmm. And you can get this song on the YouTube by the original recording of it, which is done by a group called the Johnson Family Singers,
who presumably also wrote it.
Yes. And the way that they did it was like, it was almost like they had a conductor going like this in front of where the broad Savannah, and the Savannah is the Savannah River.
Right. Yeah.
And so they did a very square, rhythmically version of the song. And what the Ramblers did, they turned it into a Carter family style.
Right. I noticed that you're playing it.
Yeah, well, I wasn't really doing the Carter scratch, but because I was using a flat pick, but the Ramblers turned it into basically a Carter family style. But man, it's such a story.
It is
the loss of their town, and they bought them. They say, you guys can live over here, and everything will be groovy. Mm-hmm. But, the homes are gone, the schoolhouse too, the sweat and toil of years, and with them all our hopes and joys of past and future years. Yeah. And it's great writing.
And, it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's such a history of exploitation in the South, like in the mountain South, where they bought the mineral rights to the land for 25 cents an acre and dug for coal and ruined so much of the land that way, right, and continue to do so.
Right.
And I love this song, and I hear it as a protest song in a way. I mean, not like your average.
Yeah, it's not shaking a bunch of people shaking a fist.
It's even more powerful, I think, somehow, because
because it's a human, real,
Yeah.
true story,
Yeah.
and it's all in the story.
Yeah.
Yes, everything is there.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Susan,
it's
Susan, can I
important.
ask them a question?
One second. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Charles.
All right. No, I just
We got to get into the Native American too. Influence.
okay. So eventually, before the program's over, you all sang on one of the albums I have. It's a Wonderful World Outside. That is
Oh, I
a
love that
double
one.
entendre, and somehow work that into the program today, if you can.
Oh dear.
Well,
A special request.
I can sing it, and yeah, "Wonderful World Outside" is just it's a Stanley Brothers song,
But
actually, but
yeah.
it's weird.
Is it? Oh, it is weird. I love it though. Before, let me ask you this. You also told me, and we'll fit that one in if we possibly can, but we've got to get to what Alice told me earlier. And as part of this class too is the Native American influences on old time music since way back before even
Yeah.
1619. And you mentioned Big Chief Henry's Indian String Band.
Yeah, you can find him on YouTube. There hasn't been, in my opinion, a lot of research in this direction, but there's a wonderful documentary
Ooh,
called Rumble.
yes. Yes.
It's the story of
I
rock
told
and
y'all
roll.
to watch that.
The story of I might have the story of
Link Ray.
yeah, but the Indians who created rock and roll or something like that.
That's right.
And it gives a little bit of the history of old time music too, because there was intermarriage between blacks and whites. I mean, and blacks and whites, and blacks and Native Americans as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of those musicians, some of the old blues musicians, were mixed heritage.
Yes.
And so we don't really know a whole. I mean, no, I don't think many people have done a really deep dive into this, but it's a curious thing, and I'd like to know more about.
And then, of course, the fiddle. I mean, you go into this, well, probably all across the country.
Yodeling.
Native Americans played fiddles, and like in the Southwest, there's a lot of Native American fiddling there. That's an old bandmate of Alice's, actually, Jeannie McCleary.
Yeah.
And her husband, Ken Kepler, who live in New Mexico.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of collecting of Native American fiddle music and play some of that themselves.
Yeah.
And some of the, I read an article, I've discovered a lot of neat stuff about the Celtic tribal mentality from the Highlanders who came over here, and the similarities and recognitions or correspondences that they saw with native tribes and chieftains. And there was a native chieftain who was inducted into the South Carolina, honor society for white people in 1714. This kind of thing going on, the intermingling and recognition, the connections between those two tribal cultures. But the music has been, I read an article in the Utne Reader that said that the rhythms in early rock and roll and in rock and roll are thought to have come from African American roots, but the musicologists have traced it to Native American drumming, which was banned as one of Native American sacred instruments, was banned from use or play by any Native American until the 20s.
Yeah, well, they took the kids away and put them in schools.
Oh yeah,
and wiped out all their cultural history. Anyway, it's
tantamount to a genocide.
Much more investigation into that. But if you look, Big Chief Henry, there are several great recordings of him on YouTube. It was just him and his brother, I think, maybe playing guitar.
And they play, I've spent my class, the Cherokee Rag.
Yeah.
from Big Chief Henry from YouTube. So
Yeah.
everybody can enjoy that and explore that whole branch of things.
You
We've
know,
got,
I just want to say this thing. Another really good resource, which was extremely influential on me and so many others during the 50s, is the Harry Smith Anthology of American Folk Music.
yes,
And
yes,
it's been reissued in a box set.
of
Beautiful stuff.
CDs.
Yeah, of CDs. And
Mhm.
I think you can get it. I'm not sure where these days, but
I think they're in Smithsonian.
Smithsonian Folkways, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I was given it for my 50th birthday.
So
And
there
they
it
were,
is.
That's
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Sitting right
it's
behind
it.
you. Yeah.
It's not the only copy, but that's the collection on CD. But the
Yeah.
original collection was vinyl
Vinyl,
or
right.
plastic.
Yeah, it was. It was like 4 or 5 vinyl.
Oh, it had been a lot of. It's like I forget how many CDs it took to do
Oh,
it.
it is.
And those were all commercially released recordings. The whole Harry Smith thing is all commercially released recordings. So a lot of people have talked about what those commercial recordings were. I mean, they were put out by record companies who just seeking to make money. They found there was a market for that kind of music, and so they put records out. But so when Ralph Peer, who was probably the best known of the people who went around and recorded those albums, he was trying to just get songs that would sell.
Right.
But, so there would be a whole wide variety of kinds of material, but in its own way, it was doing that kind of work was preserving a lot of old material that may have disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was black musicians, white music. I mean, we were listening
Cajun
to all
stuff.
this mix of music. So many of us, that was a huge influence. Us little city kids were, wow, this is great
During
music.
the folk revival of the 60s.
Well, then, and members of the New Lost City Ramblers, and but also other people who in the 50s were listening to the Harry Smith collection. It was like they were first thinking of a lot of those people who recorded those songs as being just, well, they must all be dead. The 20s were so long ago. But then they started realizing some of these people are still alive, like Mississippi John Hurt, like Doc Bones.
Yeah.
There were a number of people who recorded songs. Clarence Ashley, who, when Ralph Rensler went to the Union Grove Fiddlers Convention in like 61 or 2 or something like that, and he connected with Clarence Ashley at that Fiddlers Convention, and he was so excited to find the guy that recorded the Cuckoo Bird in like 1927 or 8 or something like that, and is in the Harry Smith collection, that he arranged for Ashley to make a record on Folkways.
Oh,
and
yeah.
said, if you want to put together a band, put together a band.
Yeah.
One of the people that Ashley used on that record was Doc Watson. And that was the first time that that's how Doc Watson first became known.
And there's a documentary, and I think the name of it is Two Trains Running, but I wouldn't swear, something like that. But it's this parallel thing that was happening where the civil rights movement was happening in the South. At the same time, there were these young people going into the South looking for musicians that they had thought had died, but had heard maybe they were alive, and they were seeking them out. And it's really interesting. I think it's called Two Trains Running.
I'll check it out. I'm going to send everybody, resources at the end of the class, which is, there's only one more class left. And somebody wrote in the chat, Ellenton now is considered the most radioactive, toxic waste polluted place on earth.
Wow.
Wow, even more than Southeast Washington State.
Apparently so. This is from Bob,
Huh.
who knows these things. We have time for maybe a question from. I know that somebody has put in the chat that they wanted to hear more music from you. I don't blame them, and also to ask Jim about Sara Carter Bays. Sara Carter was a member, was married to AP, and I believe, Jim, you told me one time that you played at Sarah's funeral.
Yeah, me and Tommy Thompson and Mike Craver did a couple of songs at Sarah's funeral.
Was one of them Anchored in Love,
We
or?
did 50 Miles of Elbow Room and
Oh,
Anchored in Love.
yeah.
And we did one of them. Sarah and AP's daughter, Jeanette,
Mhm.
established a music venue there at the home place that she called the Carter Family Fold.
Yes.
And so there was a big memorial service at the Fold. And then just a few of us went up to the graveyard.
Yeah, Mount Vernon Methodist.
For the Mount Vernon Church. And so we did one of the songs at the Fold and the other song Graveside. And I don't remember which was which, but it was a cold and dreary day. It was, and there might have even been a little sleet coming down. I can't remember, but it was that cold. And so playing there at the gravesite was not easy. But yeah, we played at Sarah's funeral, and Mike and Bill Hicks and Joe Newberry and I played at Jeanette Carter's funeral.
I did not know. Yes. And there's a hand raised up from Nacogdoches, Texas, from John Hall.
Jim, I read somewhere, though, that while Sara was living, that you visited and met her in person, didn't you?
We, yes, she would come back. She lived the last, 35, close to 40, well, not quite 40 years of her life in a little town in gold country in California called Angel Camp. But she would come back to visit her kids there in Southwest Virginia about every summer. And she had 3 children, Jeanette, Joe, and Gladys. And I don't know that Gladys ever played any music, but Joe was a really good singer and guitar player. And he and Jeanette performed together. And so one time when Sara was back visiting Jeanette and Joe and Gladys, the Red Clay Ramblers played a job at the Carter Fold, and the next day then we went over to Gladys's house, which is where Sara was staying, and talked to her and played a couple of Carter family songs for her.
Well, we have a little time left. We need to hear some more music.
Well,
I can't tell you. I wish we could. I wish we could
Why
get
don't
you
we end
back.
with a Carter family song? We'll end with a Carter family.
Okay. All right.
And this was written actually written by an African American Tin Pan Alley songwriter, one of the first in the 1800s, called, what is it?
Let's Be Lovers Again is
Yeah.
the name that the Carter family used on the song.
Yeah.
I guess we don't actually know whether that was the original published name of the song.
But he also wrote,
this guy's name was Gussie Davis.
Oh.
One of the first African American Tin Pan Alley songwriters. He lived between 1863 and 1899, so he died young. But he also wrote Footprints in the Snow,
Oh.
Maple on the Hill, and Baggage Coach Ahead, all of which we think of as coming from
Bill
Well, he
Monroe.
wrote for anybody. I mean, Tin Pan Alley, you know.
Yeah, they would just write songs and get
Yeah.
published. And again, this was the race of the songwriter would probably be unknown
Totally, yeah.
to
Right.
to most of the people who might get hold of these songs.
Right.
But that's just an interesting sidelight
Yeah.
to all of this.
Oh, it's totally pertinent.
So this is a song that the Carter family called "Let's Be Lovers Again." The Stanley brothers recorded a version of this too, and they called it "Lovers Quarrel."
And Hazel and I recorded a version. We called it Jack and May.
Yeah. And a lot of people think of the name of the song as being Jack and May because that's the name of the two characters in the song.
And it starts out, Jack and May.
Yeah, it's the very first words that you hear, basically.
Yeah.
But this is another one of these sad songs that
Like, will you miss me when I'm gone?
yeah, it's not quite like that, but and one of the things that both Alice and I like about this song is that just the structure of it, where you think you've come to the end of the verse, but all of a sudden there's more of the verse. It just sort of goes on for a while. It's just neat.
It's one of those songs that's in the too late category.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's a terrible regrets.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, this is definitely regret. Yeah. So here we go with "Let's Be Lovers Again"
By
All right,
Gussie
thank
Davis.
you.
Gussie Davis. Jack and May, sweethearts were they. They were engaged to be wed. Many a promise he made her, many a love word he said, as most lovers do. They quarreled one night. She bid him not come anymore. She gave him his hat. Jack started away, but he lingered to say at the door, tie up those broken cords and let's be lovers again. Darling, you know I love you. To part would give me pain. Let us forget the past and make up my debt. Make up and be lovers again. Years rolled by, neither were wed. All of Jack's pleadings were vain. One quiet evening, poor Jack was found dead. All through life in dismay, 2 lives that have been wrecked, but she loves oh too late. She goes to his grave every day. She can't tell you why, but it seems to her cry. The wind seems to whisper and say, tie up those broken cords and let's be lovers again. Darling, you know I love you. To part would give me pain. Let us forget the past and make up my debt. Make up and be lovers again.
So sad. So sad. Thank you.
Sarah's namesake,
Oh yeah.
Sarah the dog. I don't know if you can see her. She came up during that song?
Oh, is that
Sarah,
Sarah the dog?
Yeah.
Sarah.
Was
Named
Sarah-
after Sara Carter.
Sarah Doherty Carter Bays is her full name. Sara Carter and AP were married for a number of years, and AP, like we said earlier, was an odd guy. And finally, basically, Sarah just couldn't take living with him anymore, and she divorced. They divorced, and she started getting to know a neighbor named Coy Bays a little too well for the family's comfort. So Coy Bays' family moved out west, and they did have a child who was had tuberculosis, and they thought, well, the dry air will do him good. And so they ended up eventually in California, and the Carter family started doing shows on one of those big border radio stations in Texas,
Yeah.
Del Rio.
Del Rio, Texas, where they could live in Texas, but the transmitter for the radio stations was in Mexico, and these stations had 500,000 watts and could blast across the country, and the Carter family would go there for several months of the year, starting sometime in the mid or late 30s, and would not only do live shows, but also record transcriptions to be used later. Well, they were there doing their live show sequence, and one day, Sarah stepped up to the microphone and said, I'm going to send this song out to Coy Bays in California. And they sang, I'm Thinking Tonight of My Blue Eyes. And Coy Bays was listening.
Yes, he was.
And he said, Mama, I'm driving to Texas. And he drove to Texas. And when the Carter family finished their stretch in Texas, Sarah went with Coy Bays to California, and AP and Maybelle and Sarah and AP's kids, they all went, and Maybelle's kids at that point, they all went back to Virginia. And that is like the love story. And then Sarah and Coy Bays were together the rest of their lives until Sarah died in 1979.
And she's buried there at
At the Mount Vernon Church. Yeah, and AP is buried a few plots away. They're not next to each other. But both of them have on their gravestones a facsimile of a 78 record of the Keep on the Sunny Side.
I know they do.
record.
Or y'all,
Susan, we gotta get all these backsliders to church, but it would be great if Alice and Jim could sing us out a song. And
what about Keep on the Sunny Side?
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So you'll just fade out then?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll cut
Charlie.
off after you finish singing, and we thank you
Okay.
so much for the day.
Well, all right. Or you can just fade out during the song.
Well, however you do it.
No, we don't want to miss a note.
We
Thank
won't,
you so much.
we won't be hurt. Our feelings won't be
Yes, our feelings won't be hurt. We've been musicians for a long time. We're used to rejection.
You've had beer bottles thrown at the chicken wire in the stage.
Well, thank you, Susan, for putting this together.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. Y'all have been a total delight. And thank you so much.
All right. And thanks all y'all
Have
too
you back.
for tuning in.
Yes.
Here we go with Keep on the Sunny Side.
All right.
There's a dark, bright and sunny side. There's a dark and a troubled side of life. There's the bright and the sunny side too. Though we meet with darkness and strife, the sunny side we also may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all our way if we keep on the sunny side of life. The dawn storm in its fury broke today, crushing hopes that we cherish so dear. Storms and clouds will in time pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all our way if we keep on the sunny side of life. Let us greet with a song of hope each day. Though the moment be cloudy or fair, let us trust in our Savior always. Keepeth everyone in His care. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all our way if we keep on the sunny side of life.
Thank y'all
Thank you.
1,000 times. You are a blessing and a benediction.
Thanks.
It was
Thanks,
mighty
Susan.
fine,
Thanks,
mighty
Charles.
fine.